All aboard the hype train. This service terminates at absolutely nowhere. You're never getting off. This train is not stopping because it's full of games that are probably never coming out. In this video, we take a look at titles that were announced with lots of excitement but never came out of development. Get ready for 10 promising games that have gone dark.
Every time before a new job, always with the dreams. Collecting mementos. Wish me luck.
Good luck. Deep Down was one of the first titles Sony used to show off its brand new PlayStation 4 hardware back in 2013. This game looked a lot like Dark Souls, and many people got to play it at various events. It left a big impression on most gamers as it also provided a cooperative mode for 2 players.
こんな感じで、それぞれ一人でダンジョンに潜ってもですね、後で誰かと出会えると。
However, as the years went by, the developers of Deep Down went silent. They claimed the game would become free-to-play and that it had a much bigger scope than the original plans. Nobody knows what the state of the game is at the moment, and publisher Capcom isn't saying much either.
The truth must be known of this place, of what befell it.
In Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, sanity effects were used as a mechanic to have the player really question what was real or not.
Eternal Darkness is a cult game with a very hardcore following. This GameCube title scared gamers in some very original ways back in the day. Fans were hyped when a couple of developers who worked on the original game launched a Kickstarter. Shadow of the Eternals unfortunately didn't meet its funding goal, and the project was shelved.
There is something I must share with you. Something is amiss in this place.
In 2014, game director Dennis Dyack created a new company that would resume work on the sequel. They released a bunch of trailers over the years but never gave us a solid release date. We have no idea what the current state of this game is, but we hope it will come out eventually. The developers of the zombie game Dying Light have been working on Hellraid for quite some time now. The trailer made it look like Skyrim with lots of hacking and slashing. Needless to say, we were very interested to play this game. They announced Hellraid in 2013 but put the project on hold in late 2014.
That day our mother died. The day she was burned alive. Do you remember?
Developer Techland felt like the game needed to be bigger in scope and apparently went back to the drawing board. We haven't heard anything since, unfortunately. Such a shame because Hellraid definitely seemed very promising in its trailers. Below was first announced to the public during the E3 Microsoft conference in 2013. This Xbox exclusive promised to bring challenging gameplay in the vein of Dark Souls. It even had permadeath, which meant you had to restart the whole game if you screwed up once. The game had a very interesting visual style and gamers were hyped. Developer Capybara Games stopped working on Below in 2016. They focused all their attention on another game that was based on a Cartoon Network TV show. It's unclear whether they will ever resume production on Below.
For more than a decade, Rockstar Games have been delivering unrivaled interactive experiences to fans all over the world.
Rockstar Games is one of the few developers that simply doesn't release bad games. Every title they put out is guaranteed to be a huge hit. So you can imagine gamers were hyped when they announced a new game called Agent back in 2009.
Today, we'd like to announce a new property coming from Rockstar North. It's called Agent. and it will be exclusive to PlayStation 3.
It would be a stealth action game set in the late 70s. We got nothing more than a logo, and it took 3 years before we got to see the first screenshot. Rockstar still hasn't cancelled the game, even though it has been almost a decade since the announcement. Do you still believe Agent will come out one day?
You're all aware of the impact GTA had on our platforms, and we expect Agent to have the same must-have value.
We are some of the few gamers that actually got to play Dead Island 2 when it got showcased at E3 in 2014. And we can tell you that it wasn't anything special. Apparently publisher Deep Silver thought the same because they took the game away from developer Jaeger in 2015. They gave it to Sumo Digital a year later, and they pretty much started from scratch. We haven't heard anything from the game since, even though Deep Silver keeps assuring the press that it's still in active development. Such a sad fate for one of the more interesting zombie franchises out there. Speaking of zombie games, we have to mention the Resident Evil 2 remake in this video. We got so excited when Capcom announced this remake in 2015. We absolutely love the way they remade the first Resident Evil for the GameCube. The remastered version for modern consoles was also excellent.
Richard!
We really couldn't wait to get our hands on the Resident Evil 2 remake. However, it's been rather quiet and there simply isn't much information out there. Let's hope that Capcom will end the radio silence soon, because we really want to return to Raccoon City.
本当にありがとうございます。皆さんの熱い情熱と応援のおかげで、ようやくこのリメイクプロジェクト開発決定いたしました。ありがとうございます。
The Longest Journey is the beloved adventure game franchise that started back in 1999. The series consists of The Longest Journey, Dreamfall, The Longest Journey, and the episodic Dreamfall chapters. The Kickstarter for Dreamfall chapters had a stretch goal of $2 million. The production of a fourth game in the series called The Longest Journey Home would start if the goal was met. Unfortunately, the goal was never reached and the project got shelved.
There are two worlds, Stark and Arcadia.
However, the lead designer still expressed a desire to get the game made, and it hasn't officially been cancelled. We think it's safe to say this one is probably never coming out.
Where have you gone to, Dreamer?
Street Fighter Cross Tekken was one of the biggest surprises of the last few years. The collaboration between the two big fighting game franchises would result in 2 games. We got Street Fighter Cross Tekken in 2012, but we're still waiting on Tekken Cross Street Fighter. The first crossover game sold below expectation, which might have halted the production of the second. Tekken Cross Street Fighter was supposed to use the Tekken engine that would render the Street Fighter characters in a realistic manner. Unfortunately, we never got to see what it would look like. While the game hasn't been cancelled, it's very unlikely it will ever come out.
After Orange Box, we have to get episode 3 out. We know how the trilogy ends, and there are a bunch of loose ends and narrative arcs that need to come to a conclusion in episode 3.
Half-Life 3 is the granddaddy of promising games that have gone dark. It was first announced as the 3rd episode of the amazing Half-Life 2 back in 2006. Episode 2 of this game ended on a huge cliffhanger that never got resolved. As time went by, gamers started to think that the developer Valve shifted focus and turned Half-Life 3 into a standalone game. That also didn't seem to be the case since we still haven't heard anything 12 years later. Half-Life 3 confirmed grew into a joke over the years, and we're not sure it will ever come out. Valve recently said they want to start making games again, which could be a promising sign. We want to believe.
Anyhow, thank you very much. I have a light flashing at me telling me that I don't get to answer the third question.
Are you sad about the state of any of these games? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
What did you see? I saw a boy. And fire. A world falling apart.